I want to welcome to the stage for this panel Tosin Odesanya, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Transformation over at Synchrony. We got with us Satya Raghavarapu, Vice President of Asset Management Technology at Northern Trust, and Genia Wilbourn, Senior Vice President of Global Operations at Verizon Business Group. With panels like these, I kind of want to get to know our audience a little bit. So I just want to start it off with a show of hands. Raise your hand if you work for a company that has implemented AI in some capacity or is working to implement AI. It's like kind of hard to see, but so pretty much everyone. I should have asked raise your hand if you're not working on it, because that would have been a better representation. Okay, think back to your latest customer service experience where you were a customer of something, you ran into some sort of issue, you needed customer service. Could have been me last night when I didn't have my PIN for my corporate credit card and I couldn't actually check into my hotel room, so I had to call a number to reset the PIN. How many of you wanted to talk to a person but didn't actually get a person on the phone? Okay, so a few hands. So that's what we're dealing with here. We're going to try to convince those people that you don't always need to talk to a person first. That's my understanding. Gina, I want to start with you because at Verizon you have a huge number of calls, interactions with customers each year. 170 million. So just to put that into perspective, 465,000 per day, if it's a 24-hour day, 20,000 per hour. How do you do it? How do you take that volume of interactions and actually answer questions?
Look, so that's where I think Gen AI is really helping Verizon. And when you think about 170 million, we know the top 3 reasons why customers are trying to interact with us. And the number 1 reason is billing. Now, I've been in this industry 26 years, and billing has always been the number 1 issue, and it's been hard to crack that code. But we think we're onto something, and I'll just give you an example. So, Tim, are you a Verizon customer?
I'm a Verizon customer.
So, if you were to call into Verizon, we know, number 1, that you're calling because we're authenticating by your cell number. Number 2, we know why you're calling, and we'll say, hey, Tim, it looks like you're trying to call because you have a billing issue. We are going to push a very simple billing video to you, and it's just going to explain. That's all a customer wants to know is explain the bill to me, and it's really simple.
How would you know that when I was calling it was about billing? Is it because of the timing of the call?
No, that's what AI has been learning. The intents. We know why customers are calling, and we also know, who's calling, not only who's calling, but why they're calling. And we're going to route you to that video, right, so that you never talk to an agent.
Okay.
And we just launched this not long ago, and we have a pretty high containment rate. So I'm not ready to share those numbers yet because it's new, but we're very happy with what we're seeing. So the agent never gets the call. You're happy. You never call back. You're not a repeat caller, and we solved the issue. When you think about 170 million, that's powerful, right? Not all of them are billing issues, but quite a few of them are.
Tosin, come on in here, because at Synchrony you oversee digital customer support, technical support, e-chat, email, mobile messaging, and the like. How do you make sure that those tools are able to equip the questions that customers come to you with? And plus, it's banking, so it's a different sort of set of rules and regulations.
First, I think there's a lot of similarities, right? So first, Synchrony is one of the top Fortune 200, financial services company in the U.S., and we get hundreds of millions of calls, and Verizon happens to be one of our partners that we actually provide financial, services to, and many other brands. I think, Gina was onto something. I always say whenever a customer, we have to ask them who they are or why they're trying to call, we fail them. And so one of the things that we're very thoughtful around is how do we leverage data in a way that allows us not only to know who the customer is, right? That includes, the phone number that they're calling with and many other, data points that we use in order for us to seamlessly identify who that customer is. In addition to that, we're using data and AI in order for us to predict why that customer is actually trying to interact with us. So we are preemptive, proactive, and thinking about how do we personalize that experience. the idea and the hope is that the customers actually not picking up the phone to call us, but there is a subset of customers that still do. So one, if we can enable the customer to go digitally and use the digital experience, great. If they do pick up the phone to call us, right, can we have an interception of that interaction? So we have things like Apple Messaging with Business that we have actually launched and introduced that can really have a message suggest. And we have our chatbot, Sydney, which is at the ready to be able to answer and actually address those customers' concerns and questions. From that answering of questions, if the customer wants to talk to an agent, we're able to seamlessly pass them to a messaging agent, or if the customer wants to actually talk to a live phone agent, we're able to do that as well. And all that data, we also want to seamlessly be able to pass it off to the agent to enable them to seamlessly answer.
Is it a failure for you and your team if the person does go to an agent?
No, it's not a failure. I think first, customers are very rational, right? So from a standpoint of, they want the least path of resistance to get to the solution. So if it is interacting, through messaging with a chatbot, or if it's in our IVR, which is interactive voice response system, where we are using natural language to understand what the customer is trying to do, and we have automation behind it to then be able to process, in your case, it's billing, in our case, it's payments. Payments is the number one reason why customers are calling us, and we want to get that money back.
But you learn from it, like when it does fall out to a person, the AI engine is learning so that maybe it doesn't fall out again. Like we're on a journey, right?
Hey, Satya, come on in here because your customers are different. They're not calling you because they have questions about their bills. I mean, you're working with traders, project managers, portfolio managers, product managers, data analysts, operations teams. Perhaps the volume isn't as great as what you see from Tosin and Genia in their roles, but the questions might be quite a bit more complex.
Correct.
Yeah, how do you make it work?
So, like, when my portfolio manager is calling, they are like dealing with like a high network individuals, right? So we got to be pretty precise on that, and also we got to listen to the market segments, like issues like Silicon Valley is coming up, and a portfolio manager or a trader is trading, and we got to signal them, hey, hold on that trade. So I think there we are like saving millions of dollars. So these, our use cases, our customers are different than just like Tosin and Genia is dealing. But the pretty premise of the problem is the same. Like we got to get into the deep insights. The data is the crown jewel here, right? So we got to how you mine the data and how you train the model and how you cater those needs. Whether it is a portfolio manager, a trader, or anybody, yeah.
So help yeah, go ahead, Tosin.
I mean, there's actually a lot of, again, synergies there, right? So we have, our data lake where we have migrated a lot of our data in trying to make credit decisioning, has probably over 7 trillion worth of data points on our partners, our customers that we're using to make decisions. And
you're actually using that many data points
we are
right now.
using that many data points to make decisions.
What data are you not using right now?
As far as, I'll say this, we have a lot of access to our customers' data. The question is, how do we use it responsibly? And so it's not necessarily about what data we're not using, but how are we being very methodical and thoughtful around the responsible use of that data?
Gina, talk a little bit about how you're doing that, because it's actually, when I was doing research for this panel, I came across a poll from YouGov back in April. And they found that the top words that people associate with AI in the US are cautious, concerned, skeptical, curious, and scared. So you could say of the top 5 words that consumers in the US think about or associate with AI, 4 of those are sort of malintent. They're like concerning words. And how do you handle that sort of concern when it comes to customers' data and when it comes to making sure that the data you're using to answer questions is actually not corrupted?
Yeah, I mean, first at Verizon, we do have a governance committee, and I'm sure you guys have something similar.
That's right.
And it's made up of all of the experts you can think of, from security to legal, et cetera. And I think that is very important, and that is top priority for us. I mean, because if you think about, we have a network, we have this spectrum, and we have a fiber capacity network, and we consume 70 billion data points a day, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about malicious activity, especially coming into a network, how that can transcend across everyone, that's got to be top of mind for us. And so the governance around it is important. But also, I think there's a balance when, you know, we're taking this journey. AI is really going to help us stop a lot of that malicious activity, and that's how we're using the 70 billion data points a day, and we're monitoring to make sure that, you know, the journey that we're on and the governance all, you know, is collapsing together. And so that is key, top of mind for us, for sure.
There's a lot of similarities. I mean, I think, you know, safety and soundness is foundational to us earning the right of customers to actually use one of our cards to spend, right? And if we completely misplace that trust, you know, we may never earn it back. So I think we put that at the forefront of every decision that we make. And similarly, we have a governance body around, and even experts way beyond, you know, our own expertise on this stage that are very involved in that. We're a highly regulated industry. But you asked the question more from the, I'll say maybe draconian, scary part. For me, it's really more around the fun part, right? For the customers, how do we leverage data in a way that enables them, that empowers them, that allows them to be able to do the things that they want to do in their lives? So, you know, how are we proactive, preemptive, you know, in being able to provide offers to them that allows them to be able to use their cards, you know, for, you know, a purchase or a billing cycle with Verizon or with one of our partners with Lowe's or Amazon. You know, that to me is really, you know, the customer engagement component is actually the part for me that really excites me and the work that we do.
Satya, one thing that I think has been exciting a lot of people is LLMs and the idea of using these large language models, not just to train their own data using their own data for solutions, but also as a tool for their own customers. How are you thinking about that?
So thinking of LLMs, right, like Genia and Tosin mentioned, the same way we have like how to tackle this problem. This is like the first problem in the technology that we have to have everybody a seat on the table, like talking the legal, talking the regulators, and both technology and business and security and everybody. So how do you tackle this? Like a lot of other companies, we put like a Gen AI and AI council. So everybody has a seat on the table, and we discuss and we prioritize that what is best, most useful for the and less risky as well. So I mean, one of the things that will wow factor, the things it comes with is the hallucination and the risk, reputation, all these things that we have to take care of those things. So that's why we are traversing pretty cautiously in this field right now. So yeah, I mean, a lot of POCs are going on, and technology-wise infrastructure is ready to go, but we are going pretty slowly, I would say.
We got a lot of questions from the audience at registration about benchmarking and understanding ROI and measuring costs versus how much you're actually making when you're seeing efficiencies as a result of AI. Gina, how are you measuring when you implement something new at Verizon, whether or not it's actually working?
Yeah, all roads lead to our customer. Like, to me, that is where we are anchored. I think cost benefits, that's something that you get, you know, from implementing those things, but we really anchor in employee experience, because if employees are delighting customers, that's a win. The customers, we are integrating AI into the products and services, so they get to experience it firsthand, and the same with our network. And so customers are hanging off our network, so that's what I mean. All roads leads to customer. If the experience is there, then we have customer loyalty. If customer loyalty is there, they're going to buy more from us, and we're going to grow new customers. That is really, truly how we measure. Now, we do get cost benefits. Of course, that's the added benefit to that, but it's not anchored there. It's really anchored on the experience.
Have you been able to reduce the number of call center employees, for example, or the actual people who are answering phones because you've been able to implement these solutions?
We have, and it's reducing and repurposing them, right? Because like I said earlier, we serve many customers. We have small business, medium business, large, and they have unique things that they're looking for, very different. The larger you go, the more complexity. The more complexity, you have to repurpose those employees for that. But when you have consumer and small business, a lot of the transactions and tasks are more standard. That's where AI really comes to life. And so there's a balance that we're doing at Verizon.
Yeah, I believe I can give some real life examples on the Synchrony end. So, I mentioned Sydney as our chatbot or intelligent virtual agent. We've had Sydney since 2017, right? It's not Gen AI. I mean, I know everyone is excited about Gen AI right now, but, we take a very methodical process where, with humans, with our, product leaders, right, who are looking at what are the top reasons for call. What are the top questions that customers are asking us about, right? And our aim in looking at what we call internally addressable opportunities is, can we leverage Sydney to actually address a lot of those intents? So when you go to Synchrony.com, you go to one of our websites, right? It's servicing, prior to login, we leverage Sydney. You can ask a lot of general, frequently asked questions. But then, post login, if you have a challenge trying to log in to our site, Sydney can be ready to actually help you reset your password, right? Log in successfully, and then answer several, questions. We have 750 intents that Sydney can answer. We did 20 million, 20 million conversations last year. So, that's ROI as far as our ability to have Sydney, really doing about 80%, plus containment, right? All of those interactions with customers, being able to actually resolve those questions. To me, that's ROI. Now, when the customer then needs to talk to an agent, Sydney is able to recognize it, or, pass it on to the agent, but also give the context of that conversation. There's a faster way to actually resolve the, the customer's need. And then, I think to the question that you asked, Gina, around, how we measure customer success, we ask a very simple question. Based on your interaction with us today, how likely are you to recommend Synchrony to a friend or a family member, right? And, net promoter score, essentially, right? And, we're looking for that 9-10 score because that tells us that you're a promoter of our brand.
I think another good benchmark is our own employees, right? Because sometimes the bots come in while they're on the phone live with the customer to help with the conversation.
So the employees are seeing a bot.
Correct.
In real time.
In real time. And before, the employee may have to swivel around and look for whatever the customer, because every customer call is different. But when the bot comes in and help, the employee's experience changed, and as a result, so did the customers. And I saw that happen live, and I love it.
So there's natural language processing of a customer call in real time, and a bot will populate with text showing potential solutions, thinking that it identifies the
correct, whether it's a
at.
promo or offer or pricing or whatever, it makes it easier for the employee to interact with the customer.
Yeah, it augments the decision making than just like getting the dead straight answer from the AI. So that helps, like if the interactive, if you are seeing, oh, I know what it is, like at least like, so you have some feedback coming from the system with the knowledge. So the employee may have joined like just recently, and the company has a history of 100 years. The customer is asking some question like way back. So your bot is telling, hey, this is what it is. Then at least that employee can correlate, and it augments the decision-making process than just getting the answer from the AI.
So Satya, you bring up a really good point about institutional knowledge, and you have an interesting background because it goes software, hardware, engineering. There were a lot of questions from the audience as they registered, talking about keeping your team up to date with what you're working on, but also what else is out there available. So Satya, how do you do that? How do you make sure that your team understands the capabilities of what's out there and the capabilities of what you can do at your firm?
So we get a lot of help from actually like all big five. So one of them being IBM here. So that is one thing. And also like we have venture out on the new, whatever the new technologies are coming up. How do you train yourself? What kind of hardware or software you need? One good thing is like we started the journey into the public cloud like few years ago, all of us almost like 7, 8 years ago. That helps us a lot. Like your tech stack is right there now. Mm-hmm. It was not like you had to build up the servers and that OpenAI service, you just log in and you connect and it's right there. You can start using it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I promised that we'd touch on the pitfalls and challenges that the leaders who are on stage have faced. I'm not going to ask an individual person this question because it's kind of a curveball, but feel free, any of you, to jump in. What's a mistake that you've made along the way that you would advise people to avoid when implementing systems, when trying to improve the customer experience? What did you try that didn't work?
Man, I would say Silicon Valley slogan, fail fast, fail frequent. Mm-hmm. So it's going to happen. You're going to make mistake and you got to correct yourself. So that is inevitable in this, particularly in this technology. So it's evolving pretty, like Tosin mentioning about the AI, right? That AI uses the NLP, but where in the generative AI uses the neural networks. Like
so natural language processing, neural networks.
Correct. Because there is unpredictability involved that comes with a risk factor. So how you train model that because there is something like Stanford did research and the perplexity score, LLM is 20 and humans have 12 and NLP says 120 or something. So as we train more, and the LLM can be like pretty near to the human beings like pretty soon.
Yeah, not too fast, though.
Yeah, not too fast. Not too fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion. I mean, I do actually subscribe to the mantra of fail fast. Yeah. Right? And one of the things, Synchrony, our values of boldness and just curiosity. So naturally, Synchrony is only 10 years from IPO, right? So we're still very startup minded. Like in our approach, we love to empower employees and our product leaders to actually make decisions. So I think lots of examples of where we've approached a challenge and we're like, that's not the way to go about it. So I mean, I think the test and learn approach, the piloting, right. Being able to get customer data, being able to get hear from our frontline agents, right, or really 20,000 employees, right, that can really give us instant feedback, I think is really key for us to make those decisions. And then we let data just lead us, right? Is this working? If it's not working, is the decision to pivot to a different idea, or is the decision to refine and keep going? And I think that happens. I mean, through the life cycle of product development.
Yeah, and I think you said it. We use our own employees. We drink our own champagne. So if you want to pilot something, what better place is to pilot inside the family? So we do that a lot.
I want to end with thinking about the future and understanding your vision, each of your respective visions for the future. You see what's available out there. You also know what could be coming down the pipeline. Gina, if you could snap your fingers and overnight implement certain tools, what would they be?
I mean, honestly, when I think about just all the data and enabling that real time for every interaction. I mean, when you talk about the 170 million, those are all opportunities. Yeah, they're interactions, but they're opportunities to really grab a hold of those customers and just delight them and do that through technology. And so when I think about it, like having real-time data with all those interactions, regardless what the customer is calling for, billing, promos, I mean, we throw a lot at our customers, but if we simplify it in a way that they can digest it and simplify it, that's, to me, a great vision.
Satya, 30 seconds, your vision?
Sure. I think the SLMs are the way to go because we have to democratize this technology. Right now it is because we have to spend millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. That's why it is pretty concentrated on the top big five. So that once you democratize the technology, that's where to go. Like if you see historically, when everybody started reading and writing, and that's spread around the knowledge. Yeah.
Tosin, 30 seconds, your AI dream.
Wow. So, we've invested over $5 billion in just technology infrastructure, data lake, cloud, APIs, just microservices, a bunch of different foundational stuff. It's how do we unlock that information in a real-time way, in a personalized way, in a proactive, preemptive way. I also say this, right? The marketplace is the best teacher. So whether it's inside the financial services industry or outside, whether it's in, telecom or even hospitality, whatever the case may be, how do we see where the puck is going and be at the forefront of being able to really, just address customers' needs and get them to spend?
Well, hopefully a few years from now, we can all be sitting on the stage and having similar but yet very different
topics. Yeah.
Yeah. Big thank you to our panelists up here. Thank you to you guys
Thank you.
as
Thank
well.
you.